Hi everyone, Mr. Lee here. I wanted to make a separate video for how to find the area under the curve and the slope for the physics aviaries. Alright, let's begin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the slope method and the area under the curve method without any numbers and without like specific graphs. The reason why I want to do that is because this is actually a skill that we need to be able to use throughout this entire course, and so we will be seeing different kinds of graphs, but the skill set will always be the same. Alright, so the first one we're going to do slope. So I believe in the physics aviary they give you 3 different slopes. Alright, and I'll use the 3 different portions. Alright, so we'll call that part 1, and then we can call this part 2. Imagine that that's straight. And we'll call this part 3. Okay, so we have parts 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now, in order to find the slope, okay, for the different regions, we can use our slope formula, which is the change in the y values over the change in the x values. So if I'm taking a look at part 1, I need to find the value or the coordinates for that part right here and the beginning one right there. And the reason why we want to do this is because we know delta y is the change in the y values. So whatever this y coordinate is, okay, that'll be our y final, okay, because that's y2. And we always want to do final minus initial because that delta minus y1, so whatever this y coordinate is, right, divided by the change in the x, so whatever this x coordinate is, x2 minus whatever this x coordinate is, x1. Okay, so that's the strategy that we can use for all 3 parts. Now, for the sake of doing an example, I'll give you coordinates that we can work off of. Okay, so let's erase this. All right. Let's say this one is, let's make this 0, negative, I don't know, 5. Okay, and for this one we can say this is, let's say x of, we'll make it simple for us, 10 and 10. We'll just make it 10 and 10. All right, so with this, if I were to use this formula, all right, we have y2. So I'm going to do it over here. Y2 is 10 minus y1, which is negative 5. So 10 minus negative 5 divided by x2, 10 minus x1, 0. And so we get 10 minus negative 5 gives us 15 divided by 10. And so this becomes 1.5 as our slope. Okay, and this is for part 1. And we can do the same for part 2. But I just want to show you a cool little trick. Part 2, this is flat. So anytime we have a flat line, the slope is just 0. Okay, because there is no y change, there is no rise. Next, part 3. All right, part 3, we can find it. So I'm going to put down the formula. The delta y over delta x, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you'll notice that I've been writing out the formulas, and that's just a good habit so that you can keep things in check. All right, and so we'll say that coordinate is, let's just say that is 50, 10. And this one, we can make this, we'll make this 0, excuse me, no, that's not 0. Let's make that, I don't know, 100 and 0. Okay, so in this case, y2 will be our final y coordinate right there. So it'll be 0 minus your initial y coordinate, which is 10. So 0 minus 10 divided by your final y coordinate, x2, which is 100, minus your initial x coordinate, which is 50. So we get negative 10 divided by 50. and we get a final answer of negative 0.2. Now this negative is actually very important, because we can see here that the line is sloping downwards. The line is sloping downwards. So that gives us our negative slope. Okay, so that's how you can find the slope. Now for the area under the curve, you'll often see me abbreviate area under the curve as the AUC. All right, now this is another skill that we will see throughout the entire course, so that's good to know now. All right, now I believe in the physics aviaries, they give you, I'll do something like this, okay, and then they give us, so that'll be part 1, this will be part 2, and I will do part 3 like so. Okay, so we got part 1, part 2, and part 3. Let's get rid of this up here. Area under the curve. So this red portion is part 1, this is part 2, and this is part 3. Alright, so in order to find the area under the curve, okay, here are your steps. You got to find a line, and then you have to go to the 0 axis. Okay, and I will show you how to do that for the individual parts. And like the name implies, you have to find the area of that part. So for example, if we take a look here, in this first portion, we are looking for the line, so this red line here, okay, and we want to see how the area from that line to the 0 axis, okay, what shape that makes. And I'm gonna shade it in for you. So from this red line to the 0, okay, gives us this area right here. Okay, and this is the area for a triangle. And then we continue here. So we have the red line. Okay, and remember we go from the red line to the 0 axis, like so. Okay, and then that'll give us our area for the triangle there. Now, because this area is below the x-axis, this is a galaxy note right there, because it goes below the x-axis, the area under the curve will be negative, okay, for this first portion. But here the area under the curve is above the x-axis, so that will be positive. Okay, so let's work with some numbers here. So let's say that this point right here is 0, 0. Okay, this point right here is 0, negative 10, and this point right here is going to be, let's make it 5, 0. Okay, so those are our 3 coordinate points. So in order to find this area of the first portion, all right, I'm going to start at, we need to find the area under the curve. And so the area for a triangle is 1/2 base times the height. So 1/2 times the base, so we went from 0 to 5, so that base is 5, times the height. So this height is negative 10. Okay, so if I put that in properly, we get 1/2 times negative 50, which gives us negative 25. So the area under the curve for this first portion right here will be negative 25. Now, if we want to find the area in the curve for this other portion, let's do some coordinate points. Let's say that this point right there, I don't know, we'll make it, let's see, we'll make it 10, we'll just make it 10, 10. Okay, 10, 10, and therefore, yeah, okay, so that will be 10, 10. So to find the area of this portion, okay, once again, this is the shape of a triangle, so I'll do my math over here. Okay, triangle is 1/2 base times height. So to go from this point right here that I'm drawing in, okay, that 5, 0, to over here, that's my base. Okay, I went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we started at 5, and then we ended up at 10. So this will be 1/2 base of 5. Okay, and my height, I went up 10, because my coordinate point is 10 for my y-axis. Now, for the physics aviators, they'll give you very specific lines that you can do, and so it'll be a little bit easier. So we have 1/2 times 50. which gives us an area of 25. Okay, so if we add the two area under the curves together, we add -25, which is the first portion, and 25, which is this second portion, okay, inside here. And so the total area under the curve for part 1 would be 0. Now what about part 2? Well, part 2, we have a square, right? So you will have to find so the strategy is you go from the line and then you go to 0, right? So this portion right here is the area you're looking for. So how I like to always approach this is, what is my shape? You know, what are my shapes here? So I'm going to look for that area right there. And because it's a rectangle, we just use the area formula for a rectangle, which is just base times height. And so whatever that is, you will plug it in. Okay. Now just be careful. You're looking for the base from this point to this point, the difference between those 2 points. Okay. And the height will just be, of course, the height. All right. The last part. We have a trapezoid. Now I don't know about you, but I don't remember the equation for a trapezoid. But if you do, you can definitely use this the trapezoid equation. Okay. That is AUC. They actually give you that equation on the equation sheet. I just don't remember off the top of my head. But this is a strategy that I like to use. So I see this trapezoid, and I actually see 2 shapes. The first shape up here is my triangle, and down here is my rectangle. And so what I'm going to do to find the area under the curve of here, okay, is to find the area of the triangle and the area of the rectangle and add them up. And that way we can find the area under the curve for part 3. Okay, that will be the area under the curve for part 3. You'll find the area of the triangle and add it to the area of the rectangle. Now just be careful. The height is I'll do it here. The height is the difference from this position to this position. Okay, that is my height. And the base will be from this point to this point. Okay, not from 0. All right, so the difference between those two is my base, and the difference between those two would be my height. Right, and same for the rectangle, right? The base will be from here to here, okay, and my height will be from there to there, and you would just add them up together. Okay, so what I want to do next is I just want to show you different area under the curve graphs so that we can get in the habit of going from the line to the 0. All right, I'm just going to randomly sketch things, and then we're going to use color here. So we have this. We have this, and we have this. All right. Now let's try this. Actually, I should have done color. My mistake. You know what? I'll highlight it instead. So this highlighted portion for yellow. Okay. Then we got this highlighted portion for pink, and this portion for blue. All right, so if I want to find the area under the curve for these 3 portions, okay, I'm going to shade it in. So for the first part, okay, this first downward line, I need to find the area. So I got to go from my line to the 0. So that my line to the 0 is right here. Okay, the line to the 0. I'm going to also do it in black to give it contrast. So that's my triangle. All right, I'll draw it again. All right. Then the second one is from the line to the 0. So we're actually going to split this in half so that we can get this. That portion. Okay. And you'll notice that here we have negative area under the curve. All right. Now if we want to go from this second one, we got to go from the line, okay, to the 0. So we have this triangle portion right here. Okay, so that will be a negative area in the curve. And for the other one that's above the x-axis, we go from the line to the 0. So that'll give us this triangle above the 0, like so. And the last part, the blue one, or the third part, well, that's just our rectangle, like so. Okay, so yeah, that's how you find the areas under the curve. The hardest part is not finding the area, but rather trying to find the area that you need to find the area for. Okay, so I just want to do one last thing before we sign off, is I want to point out to you the common mistakes that students make. So if we have something like this, okay, a lot of the times the students have a AUC time finding like this area here, right? That is AUC with them. They can find that area, right? They go from the line to the 0. But the mistake that a lot of students make is the negative one, okay? They properly identify that this is the curve, but then they go down. Okay, they try to find this, and that is not correct. Okay, remember the area under the curve goes from the line to the 0 x-axis. And so instead of like that, the correct one should look like this. This will be the area you're looking for, that little triangle. All right.